Hey everyone, Kimberly from Envision Weddings here and the Incredibly Authentic video series. Today I'm going back to the basics and I'm going to be talking about something that I get asked quite often, which is what is a wedding planner and what the hell do we do? So let's get started. So for those of you who don't know me, I am the lead wedding planner and founder of Envision Weddings and Events, a company that I started over 12 years ago. And for any of you that are watching from outside of my area, I'm based out of Toronto in the Great White North, also known as Canada. More often than not, I have couples who come in knowing pretty much the gist of my job and how I play into their situation. But every so often I do get the very broad underlying question of what the heck is a wedding planner? Today I'm going to talk about the differences between some titles and terms and clarify for those who are not immersed in weddings 24/7, or in case you're feeling overwhelmed and the idea of even planning a birthday party is incredibly daunting. First and foremost, my views and opinions in this video are strictly mine. And some of the stuff I am saying may only apply to what we offer here at Envision Weddings. It might be a little different, sound a little different, or even look a little different if you're researching other companies. I mean, for the most part, I feel like most wedding planners in my area share the same views and kind of the same services, and we get the same questions. So firstly, what is a wedding planner? A planner is someone who looks ahead to what needs to be done to piece together all the elements that you need to pull off a pretty successful event. By successful, I mean that one that flows nicely, looks pretty good, and is relatively on time. And obviously successful in my eyes is when everybody leaves incredibly happy, has great food, and is even a little bit tipsy. A planner is someone who makes all vendors get booked and tasks get completed on time, someone who creates a beautiful design for you so that the wedding looks aesthetically on point, and someone who also walks you through all the natural stresses of planning a wedding, which can mean the following: dealing with family, dealing with guest list, which could be also one and the same as family issues, budgeting, researching appropriate vendors, or just having a sounding board to bounce ideas off of. If you don't have a vision, a planner helps you create it. If you do have a vision, a planner helps you execute it. And a planner also has that wealth of experience, having seen, done, heard of, or witnessed many a wedding, many a meltdown, and solved many a problem. Now, you also may have heard of the term wedding coordinator. For the most part, they are one and the same, except usually I refer to a coordinator as someone that manages mainly the execution part of the wedding. You might also have heard of wedding coordination rather than wedding planning. To me, this is arguable. Wedding coordination relates more to the final months prior to the wedding, when it's time to pull all the pieces together and take you to the finish line. That being said, it's not wrong to call your wedding planner a wedding coordinator because we likely are doing both jobs anyway. You might also have heard of the term wedding designer. This could be the same as a wedding planner, but not necessarily. Sometimes wedding planners don't do design or charge separately for it. Sometimes planners focus mainly on designing, but nevertheless, at least for me, designing is an aspect of the wedding planning and only a piece of the puzzle. Finding a wedding planner that combines being a designer, a coordinator, a planner, all together is really the key to having a well-rounded planning experience. So just for clarification, if you're wondering who I specifically am, I am a wedding planner, designer, and coordinator, and a floral designer, but we're not getting into that today. Confused yet? Amazing. As if that wasn't enough to take in, now let's talk about the different types of services you might see floating around out there. Number one, full planning. Envision Weddings, we call this complete planning, full and complete planning, full service planning. Basically, the title gives the idea of being whole, meaning that we as planners are essentially present from the moment you set a date, or we can help you set a date, all the way until the wedding day. There's also far less restrictions in terms of involvement when you book full planning. You get a planner that is there quite often, who is very involved, helps you make most, if not all, the decisions, helps you design the wedding aesthetically, as I mentioned before, walks you through all the tasks, etc. If you have no idea where to start and feel like barfing when you think about all the work it's going to take to put this whole thing together, full planning is generally what I would recommend. It is also, understandably, the largest investment. But as you will quickly realize, you will get what you pay for, and usually the largest investment you put in should correspond with how much value you're getting out of it. Number 2, partial planning. Basically, partial planning means that we are involved in only certain elements of the planning of the wedding, which you can pick and choose from a la carte. And it could look like just planning consultations, just vendor recommendations, just budgeting, or just design, or you can build a package that suits you and your lifestyle the most. Partial planning is the most elusive, I'd say, out of all the packages, because it really takes some thinking on your part to see how much involvement you want us to have, and a realistic look at how busy you and your fiance are going to be able to achieve what you want. Remember, it takes 200 hours to plan a large event or more, so you have to keep that in mind when wanting to hire a planner, essentially part-time. Number 3, month of management, which is the most popular service. What I'm referring to is month of coordination, or an execution service, which used to be called day of coordination, but has since changed a little bit because day of coordination started to become a little misleading for some of our clients. The reason why there was this shift in the industry to rename the service to what it actually was, it's because of the amount of time that it actually takes to prep for the wedding, for someone, especially for someone that wasn't present for the actual planning process. I mean, even with my years of experience, being able to plot myself into a situation that I know nothing of, and in order to execute it flawlessly, it takes some prep. So generally speaking, I would say about a month to fully understand the scale and the scope of what we're dealing with. Hence, month of coordination. It starts about a month before the wedding, and of course goes up until the wedding day, and then we execute the wedding in full with a team. Now, don't get me wrong, there are still lots of planners that still do strictly day of coordination, which is true to its name. They may show up on the day of without a lot of pre-planning and basically hustle their way through the day, which is also fine. But we just personally don't offer that type of service, because really anything could happen on a wedding day, and without those conversations prior to, we find it's hard to represent our clients in making the best decisions in the event of an emergency or troubleshooting or anything like that. So to recap, if you're looking for day of coordination, chances are you're going to get an email from me saying that is actually month of coordination, and please don't be alarmed if so. Finally, number 4, partial day service. This is something that is a little unique to just our company, because we do get the question a lot of whether we just do setup or tear down, or we can only coordinate part of the day, like either just a ceremony or just a reception. The answer in short is yes. This is what we call partial day service, because we limit it to either half the day or to a maximum of number of hours. But like my previous point, there's still a level of prep that's involved. So we'll still meet with you a few weeks beforehand, and at least once, to discuss our responsibilities and the expectations. And finally, we do elopement and micro weddings and destination weddings, which can fall into any of the previous categories as well. Really, if you want us to create it, we'll be there. But we do get asked sometimes if we do smaller weddings and local elopements, which is an absolute yes, of course. Do we do standalone destination weddings, which are not just 2 people? Absolutely. We're very much on the premise that this is your experience and your big day. So the scale and the scope of the event is really determined by you first, before we even suggest what we think might be a good fit for you. But anyway, now that you have a good idea of what the difference is between services, reach out to me to discuss which one you think would be the best for you, and we can discuss it. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe and talk to you soon.